Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 266 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is a fish that we haven't talked too much about this family, but that probably needs to change. It's actually a very cool family with an extremely wide variety of fish. And I thought this would be a very cool one to start out with. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is bam, the leaf scorpionfish. Now the leaf scorpionfish, or scientific name Taenianotus triacanthus. Again, that's Taenianotus triacanthus. It is part of the family Scorpaenidae, which is the family of lionfish and stonefish. Now we've talked about lionfish in the past and the issues that they cause, but there's such an extreme variety that I felt that we needed to talk about one that is not necessarily going to cause the same issues that the lionfish does. Now, the leaf scorpionfish is pretty widely distributed, like a lot of fish we've been talking about recently. It is found in the Indo-Pacific region, ranging from the Red Sea and East Africa all the way to the Hawaiian Islands, and they're found as far north as Japan. So pretty much throughout the entirety of the oceans you can find these. This is an extremely common species, but one that a lot of people may not notice. And this species does prefer shallow coral reefs and rocky substrates, usually around 3 to 130 meters, which is around 10 to 425 feet. And remember, about 100 meters is kind of considered shallower when you start talking about oceanic fish. You're really going to find these in those, corals. They're going to be on sponges, rubble, and they're very, very good at camouflage. So that's why a lot of people may not notice that they've seen these if they've gone reef diving, because they're sitting there just completely motionless and often swaying in the current, blending in with all that debris and stuff. Now, you wouldn't think that because of the coloration, but it's amazing what can hide in those coral reefs. Now, the leaf scorpionfish is a laterally compressed fish, very leaf-like. That's where it got its name. Reaches up to about 10 centimeters, which is around 4 inches in length. It is very, very small, as a lot of scorpionfish are. But the distinctive feature that you get it off is its actual body shape. That very laterally compressed body shape gives it that sort of leaf-like appearance. You may not realize it looking at this picture or even other pictures, but it's very, very thin, giving it that, leaf-like shape, especially because it's actually bent on to one side. So it's kind of like a little cup. So instead of straight up and down, it's slightly curved, and that kind of gives it that drifting leaf sort of shape. So a lot of dead leaves, they'll sit on the bottom like this. They'll kind of do that as well. And that's, why it got its name. Now, it's got this elongated dorsal fin, very tall and often ragged-like in appearance. It's got these elongated spines, but the first couple of spines always seem to have, not always, but they kind of have these threads coming off of them. Same with their chin. There's all sorts of barbels and little appendages, and that's actually pretty common in the scorpionfish family, is they just seem to have little cilia would be kind of the correct term, but just little whiskers and everything going every which way. But they do have pretty significant dorsal spines. They have this rounded anal fin, rounded caudal fin, these this almost like T going through the eyes. You can see it here even on this lighter color specimen. In terms of color, you're going to find these in white, yellow, green, red, pink, brown, mottled, kind of whatever color you can imagine under the sun. sometimes with patterns, sometimes not. Yellow seems to be the most common, which is why I chose this picture. But really, you're going to find them in all sorts of coloration. And in fact, they can change color quite frequently, over the course of a few days or weeks. And essentially, they're shifting their coloration to match either the reef coloration or seasonal algae growth. So when there's red algae growing, they'll actually shift their coloration to be slightly more red. So yeah, now they do have this little bulbous appendage, kind of like the anglerfish, but I don't believe they're using it for luring prey. It's literally just to help break up their profile and help them with camouflage. Their dorsal spines are venomous, which is very well known throughout the scorpionfish family, that their spines can cause extreme pain, if not death. So you want to be pretty careful. I wouldn't handle this. Look at them, but I probably wouldn't be handling them. And they are used purely for defense. They're not using these spines for attacking or anything like that. It's literally just their defense mechanism, even though they're primarily relying on camouflage in terms of defense. Sorry, I am getting over a cold. Now, in terms of their predation, they are kind of that classic ambush predator. They're just really sitting there motionless, waiting until small fish or crustaceans will pass close to them. Then they'll, with a quick burst of speed, and I mean it is quick, they'll either move forward, or they really have this extendable mouth right here. And it's not like super extendable like the sling jaw wrasse that we talked about, but it does extend a decent amount. And then that mouth will open it up. It's fairly large, and it's actually more of a vacuum predator. So they're actually sucking it in. While they are pretty motionless, they do reposition themselves regularly. They try and find the best location based on the currents and everything. But they do it in a way that allows them to stay as basically as invisible as possible to both their predators and prey. Now, in terms of reproduction, they are external fertilizers. The females release buoyant eggs into the water column. Then the eggs are fertilized by the males. The eggs develop into planktonic larvae that drift along with the currents. And then they settle onto the reefs as miniature versions of the adults. Because of that, they can actually have a very wide, that's why their distribution is so wide, because they're completely reliant on currents. And it's why they're so successful. On top of the fact that because of their morphology and everything, it's hard for predators to get at them, really. Because, when you look at this fish, a good third of it is just these venomous spines up here. So, that's definitely one of those. It's a very successful fish. Very cool. Some people have them in aquariums. I wouldn't do that. But for the interesting fact we're going to end the video on, and this one was really shocking to me. Excuse me. Fish and other things that stay sedentary for long periods of time, especially in saltwater, tend to have a real bad habit of getting algae and parasites and other debris on their skin. You think about like the turtles that always have barnacles and things like that. The whales that have barnacles. Whales are actually moving fairly fast, but they are essentially sedentary for large chunks of time. And this fish is no exception. It is known to actually have a ton of parasite issues. Algae will grow on it because that is just how motionless it stays. But throughout my research, I found that the leaf scorpionfish actually has an unusual habit. It will actually shed its outer skin layer every 10 to 14 days. Basically, it sheds almost like a reptile. That really helps this fish keep itself clean, and it helps maintain the sharpness of its camouflage, keeps it staying brighter and or duller as they're there. And so that's a really, really neat adaptation, and I don't think it's that common. In fact, I think it's extremely rare. And that tells you that this fish is, its entire goal is to remain as still as possible for as long as possible, saving all of its energy for those foodstuffs that come by. You know, it's very much like a snake in that aspect, a rattlesnake, which is, you know, sitting there. It moves every once in a while, but ultimately it's trying to sit and wait on something to come by. And this fish is taking it to the extremes, staying so still that algae and parasites grow on it. And instead of fighting them off or learning to live with algae, it literally just sheds its skin, bringing itself much more vibrant, appearing more like a freshly fallen leaf compared to those older faded ones. And to my knowledge, this is really the only fish I can think of that actually sheds its skin in this way. So an extremely unique fish. I plan on doing a little more digging into this fish because I've never really heard of that outer skin shedding, and I kind of want to dig deeper into there. And I'm wondering if that helps them maintain their color changes, if they'll they use that to help them shift colors quicker. Not entirely sure, but super interesting fact, and definitely one that I encourage everyone to check out. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Sorry for all the sniffling and the coughing. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. It is by no means expected, but very much appreciated regardless. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and peace.